Welcome everyone to the Frequency Shift, our first official frequency school. I'm Sophia Houseman, and it is so exciting to be doing this with everyone. I know we're all so eager to learn and absorb this really evolutionary information. So before we get started with our special guest, Ken Close, I'd love to know from everyone how long you've had your Healy for. So if you're brand new or just had it for like a month or two, put one in the chat. And if you've had it for like 6 months, around 6 months or more, put a 2. And if you're a guest here, welcome. It's really good to have you here, and you can put a 3 in the chat. So this is just a good way for, I'm just trying to look at the chat right now, for us to get a clear picture of who's here and the kind of questions we really want to be covering. So I see a variety of a lot of ones, yes, 2s, 2, 2, 2, some 3s. Let's see. Yeah, so we have a lot of new people here, which is amazing. And this is such a great opportunity for you to learn from the best, one of the best. So yeah, I think what would be really lovely is just to say a little bit about how frequency school came around. And back in December, we had a Zoom with Ken, actually, and it just became very clear by the conversations that were happening in the chat that, you know, people are really hungry to learn and really want to expand their knowledge and expand their mind. And a few of us, and Jessica Hesse, that's the Frequency Shift group, we were in a discussion and realized that, you know, we could offer this to our community and create a frequency school so that we can support everyone and acknowledge why we are all here. And primarily, we are here as connectors, as bridges for this information to reach the people that are praying and calling in the Healy. So it's really important that we know what we're talking about, and that we have expanded our own minds before we share with others, or while we're learning, we can share with others. So I think just for, you know, a few seconds, let's acknowledge one another, acknowledge ourselves as being these connectors, these channels for this powerful information, and yeah, acknowledging ourselves as pioneers of this technology that is going to really contribute to raising the frequency of the planet. So just for these few seconds now, acknowledge yourself and the reason why you're here. And welcome to this space that is here to expand your mind and your vision and your heart. Right. So with that said, let's play in the quantum. And so I want to invite you, if you do have your Healy with you, to choose one of the programs from the learning group. And I would recommend something like memory or learning, which is basically self-explanatory. So if you have your Healy, let's put on a program that will support us in absorbing as much as possible, as much as we need. And I just want to check to see that I haven't missed anything before we go on. So yeah, I am going to introduce Ken now, but before I do, I would love to just read some of his bio, because he is the most incredible spirit, soul being in human form. And I really want to uphold the men in our community, because there aren't many right now, and I know we're calling them in and they're coming. But so Ken is a father of 4 vibrant children. He is an electronics engineer and a seasoned martial arts practitioner, a senior instructor of Taekwondo, and that's been like 2 decades worth of practice. He is now retired from that, and is pursuing his passion of improving personal performance through nutrition, mindset, consciousness, and epigenetic expression. He loves to study thoughts, beliefs, habits, and behaviors in search of their scientific influence on the genetic codes within the body. He has studied under great thought leaders such as the beloved Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Deepak Chopra, Dr. John Gray, and several others. So that's been something like a 12-year journey for him, and it's really extended his understanding of the information field of quantum entanglement, neuroscience, epigenetics, as well as the power of focused thought. He's a public speaker and coach. He's a firm believer that we can unlock our divine power at any age using the gifts we already have. And his mission is really to be an example to all men of balance, chivalry, honor, compassion, service, and a heart-centered consciousness, which is, poof. I'm so happy to have you here, Ken. It's a real honor. So with that said, I would love to welcome you onto the stage of this space.
Wow, where do I go from here? Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I'm humbled and honored to be able to share and expand an understanding around, what has called every single one of you to Healy and to this moment. So thank you for that. I'm extremely excited to be here. You never know what's going to spark from a simple conversation, and to show up in our best form, I think is where that conversation turns into frequency school or whatever it turns into, right? So thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a real honor. So just to get started, I wanted to talk about the terminology just for a couple of minutes, because what's really recently come to light is that many of us in this community had got accustomed to calling the Healy a bioresonance device, and actually that is non-compliant with Healy corporate, and we cannot be referencing Healy as a bioresonance device. So it's really important for everyone listening that you do not reference it in that way, and you don't share materials or content that references it as a bioresonance device. So just, in a couple of minutes, if you would like to just describe what Healy is in like a sentence or two.
Yeah, I would love to, because so my background is in engineering, specifically in the technical or electronics engineering, which is, it is in any type of engineering, there are principles that we abide by. And if we can teach, or if I can demonstrate principles to anyone on this planet, then what we can do is with those principles, we can apply them in ways that fit our life. Right? Make sense? I mean, when you are shown how to use a fork, you use that in very specific ways. You know, some people might comb their hair with it. I do. Some people may eat with it. Other people may apply it to rake the garden. But the point is there's different ways of doing this. And we want to make sure that we do it or understand this technology in ways that that we can expand, not be restricted by compliance, but we can expand. And Marcus created, for you guys that are new, Marcus Schmika is the creator, the quantum physicist / monk, which just, I love that combination. That is the founder and creator of this technology. And it took 10 years to move the parent company technology, which is TimeWaver, into a wearable, shareable personal system. It took a while. And because there's a lot in this, and I want to make sure people don't discount what we have here. The principles that were built into here, or using some of the sciences. Let's go to some of the sciences. This is not new science, by the way. The reason that Healy uses microcurrent, okay, because when we connect via the wristbands, or we convert that microcurrent into magnetic energy, either way, you're connected to the Healy. But the microcurrent specifically, I want to address that for a moment because I get so many questions about which is better, which is more effective, which is the way to use it. There's really not a wrong way to use it. But the microcurrent itself has decades of understanding around a technology that once upon a time was shunned in the medical industry, which microcurrent, because when it's implemented into the body, it increases ATP production a lot. It increases amino acid transport, increases protein synthesis within the cell. So this is not new science. This has been around since the early 1900s. But Marcus geniusly, that's a new word, I think I just made that up, added that into Healy so that we could then implement or trigger this cellular response. But in a very genius way he did this was, he's using it as a carrier wave or a pail. I like to use the analogy of a pail, carrying very specific frequencies into the body. So what we're doing is we're energizing the body with microcurrent, increasing ATP production, protein synthesis, amino acid transport, but we're using very specific frequencies to essentially target systems, organs, cells, tissues within the body. All right. And because we're able to target very specific systems, we can be very efficient, right? It's not global throughout the whole body. It is, but the frequencies address very specific issues, and the programs are designed around that theme. So this is why we have, I don't know, I lost count. We're over 250 programs. And we can address every condition, issue, tissue that you want. So the way it works is that idea. If we understand the principle, we're working with microcurrent, a technology that has proven science. We are adding another modality to the microcurrent by being specific into how we're addressing the body, or within the issues within the body with that modality, and then using a resonant interface with that body and the software to design very specific protocols or groups of frequencies within that program for just you, And I like to, people ask me, well, what's your napkin speech, or what's your elevator pitch, right? What's your description of Healy? And I know I'm going to stretch some of you today because understanding some of this science is a bit, feels like it's a bit out there, because we're working within the quantum field, within the quantum science. And my single sentence or kind of long sentence description of Healy is that it is a bridge between the quantum field of information field, and the biological and physical fields of matter. That's it. It's taking and building a bridge. And the method in which it does that is quantum science. If any of you guys want to dig into the quantum field, look up quantum entanglement. Take a look at how that theory or that system works. There's a group that just got the Nobel Prize for being able to demonstrate quantum entanglement just recently, I think just last year, I think. So remember that this is new in most cases, because we have become extremely wise, very smart as a society, as a consciousness. We're very smart, and information is at your fingertips, right? Look at us. We're on a Zoom call. Information is at your fingertips globally. We have people from all over the world here, I'm assuming. Yeah. And people will see this that are all over the world in an instant. And so we can't sit back on old Newtonian principle, the old cause and effect. You've heard of Newtonian principle. It's cause and effect. This is now an age in which we have to understand quantum law, which is causing an effect. We now know how to cause an effect. And the answer in terms of causing an effect, Nikola Tesla says it brilliantly, right? It's non-physical. It's in the non-physical. And he has a quote I love of his. You guys are aware of Nikola Tesla. Let me tell you I'm going to talk about two of my favorite quotes, but the first one is he says that the day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress than it made in all the previous centuries in 1 decade. Okay, in 1 decade. Look back, everybody, on the last 10 years. Can you see the progress? Can you see the shifts? How many of you guys go back 10 years? Something changed, and there's been a huge progression in understanding. And now we're looking at the non-physical. And this is where Healy works, is in the non-physical, very specifically within the subatomic world. Hard for us to see it. Why? Because we see tangible. We see the fingers and we see the nuts and the bolts of things. But we're working in the non-tangible now. So into quantum law, Healy is very effective in using energy, microcurrent or magnetic energy. We're going to talk about that as well, to actually shift certain bioenergetic processes that lead to biological processes. Does that make sense? How's that, Jessica? I mean, I see Jessica, but it's
Sophia, yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, I feel like, yeah, we're just starting, but I mean, how would you describe, like, in 4 or 5 words, the Healy device? Because we were touching on, like, using the term bioresonance, which we should not be using. So what would you just say? A frequency device?
So again, Healy is a multifaceted device. It is actually exchanging energy. So in a sentence, it is well, if I go into too much electronics, it's really hard to do in a one sentence, because it truly is using some technology. I understand from the engineering realm in terms of the circuitry it uses, but it really, quite honestly, is interfacing with the electron field. If we just take a lamp and plug it into the wall socket and turn the switch on, and the bulb comes on, so that's electron flow, right? We're transferring energy from one point, an origin or source, to a load or the bulb, right? We're transferring energy, and we're doing it through a tangible piece of wire, a cord. Yes. Nikola Tesla discovered and displayed how to do that in the non-physical, how to do that invisibly, right? And this is where the magnetic transference of energy has come to light. And Healy uses electron flow, because within the circuitry of Healy, there's a circuit board in there, and there's a battery, and there's energy that moves around and programs that actually do certain work. Okay, so there's electron flow, and anytime you have electron flow, so remember, plugged in the lamp, energy moves down the cord to the bulb, turns on. That electron flow down that copper wire emits a magnetic field. This is just laws of physics. Anytime you have electron flow, it emits a magnetic field. And within the US, that voltage that's going through there is pulsed at a frequency of 60 hertz. In Europe, it's 50 hertz. It's different. It's a different frequency based on your source, but it's 60 hertz. So we could take instrumentation and we could measure the magnetic emission off of that power cord, and it would show us a 60 hertz magnetic field. Is that useful? Well, nah. I mean, it's not harmful, I'll put it that way. But what Healy does is it takes that electron flow, right, and it puts it down these wires into our body, and that electron flow is pulsed at certain frequencies that are useful, that are specific, that are in resonance with these bodies. So this is a system that's bridging this electron flow, this electron field with this biology, and stimulating very specific things. One is, like I mentioned before, ATP production, protein synthesis, amino acid transport, as well as cell membrane voltage potential, increasing that cell membrane potential. This is kind of some key information, because if we took a cell and we had a little tiny meter, a measuring modality, and we measured the cell membrane voltage, we would be able to tell if it's healthy or not healthy. We'd be able to tell a lot of things about it. And so that would be cool if we had just this little instrumentation that had a reading of all the cells in the body, right? Okay, well, you have 100 trillion different readouts right there. It'd be a lot of information to read, because there's 100 trillion different cells in your body. And these cells are recreating new cells and rebuilding themselves to the tune of 800,000 per second. 800,000 cells per second being recreated. And the genetic coding that says you're going to be a skin cell, a bone cell, a muscle cell, whatever, is 3% of that genetic code. 3% says it's going to be that type of cell. Okay. 800,000 cells per second, changing it there, creating new cell structures to a formula that's only 3% of the entire code. What's up with the other 97%? What's that? Is that, it used to be believed it was junk DNA. It's not. It's actually a system reading its environment. It's adaptive information coding that can be changed to infinite possibilities. Okay, so 3% says it's going to be a skin cell. 97% says it's going to be what? Some form of that skin cell based on its environmental influence. And when we're running microcurrent through the body, think about this. The external environment of the cell is the internal environment of the body. Write that down. The external environment of the cell is the internal environment of the body. Okay. And so when we have a thought, this generates energy, right? This generates information. It generates frequency. When we're connected to the Healy and we're running microcurrent through the body, this generates information. It generates energy. And that 97% of the adaptive cell is reading that content for instructions. And then it becomes a form of cell based on those instructions. So look at the power we have, folks, in terms of how we can start writing. This is epigenetics. Epigenetics at its simplistic form is essentially information or influence outside the cell. Outside the cell. No different than going to the gym and pumping iron. You know, at the gym, you're exercising, working out, something outside the cell, and the adaptive code has to say, build more, right? Adapt, be able to handle the environment. So that's what happens. Healy is this bridge in this field of energy. It's hard to do in a sentence.
Yeah. I think you got it though a little bit earlier on. You had like one sentence as you started this piece, so I'm definitely going to go back and listen to it. So I guess what that really ties into is the way that the people's understanding of the quantum, and that I think that there is some confusion around that and how Healy is working in the quantum. And I think that would really help people articulate, because, you know, I think it can be very straightforward talking about the microcurrents and how it, like, you know, physically impacts the body with the ATP production, etc. So I think talking about the quantum field, or informational field, as the Germans like to call it, would be really helpful, and that partnership with Healy.
And I love this subject because I promise you, you spend 5 minutes in conversation with me, we will be in the quantum field. By the 6th minute, we're there. So, and here's why, because everything is energy, right? If you don't believe that principle, then turn the camera off, because everything is energy. And the only thing that separates one form of energy from the desk that I'm sitting at to the skin cells of my body is its frequency, its vibration. The slower energy vibrates within this quantum soup of what we would call the ether, then the closer it is to matter, material form. Okay. And Einstein proved this theory, the observer theory, right? Everything is simply just potential until there's an observation of it. So everything is just waveform until an observer puts their attention on it and collapses that waveform into a particle. So everything is energy until that moment. Even you, even us, if we were to take and magnify it all the way down as far as we possibly can, we go down to the cell, and then from the cell, we go down to the subatomic particle, we go down to the electron. And you look at an electron, you look at a molecule of any kind, it has very specific structures. It has electrons flowing around some sort of a center or some magnetic foundation. But yet you keep magnifying, all you see is space. You really are like, where is the material skin cell? As you start to dive deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole, there's no form. It's just energy. Okay. And yet you and I, we could fist bump right now if we were right in the same spot, right? And you'd feel those fists come together. But what you're actually doing is there's two opposing fields that feel so solid that they feel like matter, right? Like when you sit on a chair, the reason you don't become the chair is because two different fields of frequency or of matter vibrating at different frequencies. So you can't combine. Okay. So when we deconstruct that whole idea and we go down to the particle, we go all the way down to the electron, this is where Healy interfaces. That's the quantum field, everyone. That's the quantum field. It's not out there. It's everywhere. It's in here. It's the chair you're sitting on. It's the table you're sitting at. It's the thought you're having, by the way, is the quantum field. Because every form of energy simply is separated by vibration, and every form of energy exists in the quantum field. So, like I said before, when we are able to take some instrument and build a bridge between that quantum field of information and this biological and physical fields of matter, and specifically apply known frequencies that alter the state of this biological matter in a positive form. In other words, charge it up, bring health to it. Then the life form starts to vibrate at a different frequency. The cell structures start to have a different amplitude of health within them. Okay, so this is the fundamental principle around that. Can
I just ask you though, how would you, how would someone, because I'm just thinking of everyone on here that's just come into this space and is new, like how would you speak about it in a way that other people that really don't know much about frequency therapy would describe it?
Yeah, so I'd have to paint a bit of a picture because, as I said, in epigenetics, it is the influence outside of the cell. So anyone who is, none of you here I know, but anyone who is suffering by some thought process that doesn't serve you, that continuously rehearses some condition, that energy, as I said, has influence on the internal cell structure of the body. So have you ever worried so intensely that you felt sick to your stomach? Have you ever been so concerned about an outcome, maybe going to visit somebody that was of high status to you, or you're studying for an exam, or there's some deadline that you're cramming for, and you're so wound up that you feel viscerally, you feel some kind of gastric influence, right? Like it's sick to your stomach. I'm sure maybe you guys can relate. Okay, this is thought energy changing your biology at its fundamental core. Thought energy changing your biology. Okay, because the body has to respond to that energetic expression of a thought. So if you're brand new here, I think you might be able to relate. Have you ever thought yourself sick? Have you ever thought yourself unwell? Well, if you can think yourself sick or think yourself unwell, you can think yourself well. You can think yourself abundant. You can think yourself filled with love. You can think yourself in any state of being you wish. That's just a frequency of energy. That's it. So Healy and the vast studies from all of the practitioners, all of the staff, all of the frequencies that have been known to change certain aspects of us, have taken these frequencies known to have biological benefits and put them into essentially an assessment protocol, to where the software can take a look at the host, in other words, what it's connected to, what it's interfacing with, and find out what's not resonating at the highest frequency of optimization, the highest expression of the self. And then it can find very specific frequencies that realign that. This is resonance at its finest. So we understand if we were to take two guitars and set them next to each other, tuned perfectly the same, and pluck physically the string on one guitar, the other guitar's string, the same frequency, will resonate, will vibrate, right? This is another quantum entanglement engagement. This is the electron field. You can't see it. Remember, it's non-physical. You can't see it, but it's happening because there is a coherence between those two frequencies. This is how Healy finds a certain resonance with this body, a certain incoherence the body has, and aligning coherence with what the resource pool it has, and then implementing through microcurrent. Now we're just talking about a lot about microcurrent right now, because the magnetic influence is another modality. It's another plane of influence. Microcurrent is something we have studied. We connect it to our body. We run this microcurrent through it, and these bodies shift, they change, they adapt, because this is, again, epigenetics at its fundamental principle. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but let's say when you're vibrating frequencies into the field, and, we probably have some Reiki practitioners here, but if you're going to be sharing with someone about how it can work remotely, like how does that happen? How does that work? And if, with the understanding that in the quantum field, everything is now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding, then how does that impact things that happen? Like, because I know that Healy is able to identify like core issues from childhood, and there's like ancestral patterns that it can identify. Like, how does that come into the mix if, unless upon the principle that we're in the quantum and the now moment? Can you say something about that?
Yeah, I love this, because it's we can't well, I'll put it this way. If we take a memory of the past and we take that memory of the past and we bring it to the present moment, and we are convinced that that is the destiny of our future, we have not evolved. We have not changed one bit. All we're doing is we're taking all the content of our yesterday, placing it on today so that tomorrow looks exactly the same. That's not healing. Okay, that is not healing. Yes, everything happens in the quantum, in the present moment. That is true. But we can't do the same thing over and over again expecting a different result, right? So when we place energy into the body, the present state of the body was not just invented just now. How many of you guys were just born today? How many of you guys were just created in this moment, right? You went from 0 to hero, bam, there you are. That's not happening. So there is history, there is understanding, there is genetic signatures within the entire structure of the body, including neurological programming in the brain. All that stuff is a culmination of everything from your past. But the body is an expression of the past. It didn't just get made just now. So all of that information lies here within the body in the present moment. And we have an opportunity in this present moment to make a completely rewrite and change what happens to later on. So tomorrow, remember I said 800,000 cells per second, every second, this one and this one and this one and so on. 800,000 cells per second being written, the genetic code, 97% of that genetic code being written in this present moment. So you're creating the body of tomorrow right now, but you didn't create the body of yesterday. I mean, it was already created. This moment's creating the next version and so on and so on. So the present moment is all information is available in the quantum field. If we understand electron interface, the majority of the electron space in which we think is a tangible matter is space. All of that space in the quantum field is just information. In the quantum field, male, female, old, young, chair, human, it's all information. There's no subjectivity to it. Okay, it's just energy, and it's an objective field of possibility. Same thing with that genetic code I told you about. 97% is just objective. It has a resource pool of infinite possibilities. And so, yes, 3% says it could be a skin cell, but the potential for the other 97% is built in the present moment. And the influence, energetic influence, the frequency influence in that present moment is the mother lode. It is what creates that 97%. And so what's the content? What's the resource pool within that? The resource pool is the infinite possibility of that 97%. But you, as the awareness within this body, get to orchestrate. You get a chance to take a vitamin. You get a chance to hook up your Healy. You get a chance to drink water. You get an opportunity to have bad thoughts or great thoughts. All of that is influencing that 97%. So when I talk about human performance, I talk about giving their power back, giving this human their power back by understanding epigenetics, because we can't claim ignorance anymore. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's time to take responsibility for our health. Of course, the disharmony is also our fault, our responsibility. We can't say that they did that to me, because the 800,000 cells per second are reading the environment. Their cell structure environment is the inside of you, not the outside of you. It's the inside of you. So when we say they wronged me and that's why I'm this way, that's because you took that content, you built a belief around it, you assigned meaning to it, and at that point you stopped evolving right there.
Yeah. So how does the Healy work in this?
She keeps going back to how's the Healy work. So what I'm giving you is principles, because then when we assign, now let's take what Healy's doing, right? Let's take what Healy's doing. It's applying microcurrent to this body with very specific frequencies on board. And I'm going to stick with the microcurrent because I don't want to complicate things at the moment. It's assigning a frequency to that microcurrent. So look at the microcurrent. Remember, it's energy, electron flow from one point to another through this body, through what I call the entity. It's sending information through the body. Like what I say was the quantum field information, right? So in this present moment, the electron field, those electrons running through your body, carrying very specific information coded specific information. So that the body, to the tune of 800,000 cells per second, can shift with that information. Take that information, right? The 97% of the code, take the content of those frequencies, and then build a version of cell structures based on that information. It's not excluding your thoughts, though, by the way, folks. You can't say Healy's going to be everything, because I promise you, if you're not minding your own thoughts, minding your own state, tending to your judgments, then there's going to be still an influence from your mind. I mean, I use this analogy. You can eat the most non-GMO, organic, plant-based meal, but if your body's in stress response, the fight or flight mechanism, your digestive system is down-regulated. And so the bioavailability of that meal is not much.
I remember there's a doctor, his name's Dr. Bernard Jensen. He's quite well known. And I remember he spoke a lot about when you're eating, if you're sad or angry or, in some state of being that's not harmonious, you're going to be ingesting that and taking that in. And so you could be eating the most like high vibrational food, but it would not, that would have an impact on it. I mean, so far this has been so helpful, like really helping people to really get what this is about. And I think that's what many people really need right now. So I really appreciate that. And just being conscious of the time, I know that we'd really love to have like a nice introduction about the new device from Healy called the MAG. So it would be great to kind of have like a comprehensive, but an introduction to the MAG.
So the MAG Healy, it got its name from magnetic energy. So the first part is the magnetic part. MAG Healy transmits magnetic energy. Healy transmits microcurrent as well as magnetic energy, right? So it does both. The MAG Healy is just magnetic energy. When I say just, that's not a small thing. Magnetic energy, when it's emitted into the world, this is how Nikola Tesla transferred energy from one point to another. And so when MAG Healy transmits information, so you've got a device that is a piece of hardware. There are 2 quantum sensors within the MAG Healy, where our Healy has 1. There's also 2 what's called Kozyrev mirrors inside of the MAG Healy, one in a configuration called a closed chamber, one it's an open chamber, meaning the Kozyrev mirrors, a Kozyrev mirror essentially is a shielding process. It literally is designed to be a shield. They use them in the time waver technology. MAG Healy has 2. So it's built as a shield to shield off or to hold out any interference, the frequencies of the earth, the frequencies of emotion, all the content, to hold it off. And so that the MAG Healy can create a signal that's pure in its transmission. So one is external, holding a shield outwardly. One is internal, holding a shield inwardly. And then the MAG Healy's quantum sensors then send those signals out magnetically. I want you guys, do you guys know how information gets to the radio in your car or the stereo in your house, the radio station you tune into? That's all magnetics, electromagnetic energy, what we call in the technical world EMF. Now, I know some of that seems like a bad word to most people. It's not. EMF, electromagnetic frequency, electromagnetic force, is what it was originally started as. Nikola Tesla used it to transfer information from one point to another, energy from one point to another. And that's how we do it. The whole planet, everything does that. Magnetics, the Earth's magnetic field, everything is transmitted via a magnetic signal. So Healy's MAG Healy system does exactly that. And there are various distinct programs, pages of programs, again, built to address different issues within our body or within the atmosphere or within water, right? So this is an amazing, phenomenal tool to influence environment, okay? So Healy is made really primarily as a personal wearable for me and for you onesie, right? But Mag Healy, now we can start addressing environment. And so when you combine the two and you're at a meeting at a coffee shop, you got your Mag Healy sitting on the table and you're running some things around the atmosphere, you're just clearing the clouds so that whatever you're doing in the place that your purpose is, whatever you're doing there in the conversation has a better space in order for you to create. So yes, it works on the body. Mag Healy is a magnetic transmitter, and it has a range, of around 10 feet, 3 meters is, again, advertised. The manufacturers have to put some parameter on things. We know differently in the quantum field, so does Healy, but we have to put parameters on it because it's measured, right? Here's the maximum effective range. Let me tell you a little bit about a magnetic signal. The moment a magnetic signal is created, it goes infinitely. In a sphere, spherical, unless it's certain guidance systems are built around it, but in a spherical form, this magnetic wave goes out omnidirectionally to infinity. So
can I just ask you there, because I have had a couple of questions from people in my team over the last few months, like, and so this magnetic field, this emission, can it move through glass and walls and expand?
Frequency determines the medium in which it will travel best, or in other words, it's the most effective. Subsonic frequencies are great for underwater. Ultra high frequencies are great for long distance. I mean, different frequencies are for different medium of transference. Glass is an insulator, so it's not conductive. In other words, it really presents a very, very little diminishing of frequencies that are outside of light. Light frequencies, anything that is opaque, translucent, will change how light frequencies transfer through it. If it's a piece of glass that is blue versus a piece of glass that is clear, light frequencies goes through one differently than the other. So glass doesn't necessarily create any kind of hindrance when it comes to magnetic energy. Water is a conductor. So water will amplify certain frequencies and nullify others. A lead wall, lead or other molecular structures tend to nullify magnetic fields. So free space, the air itself, free space, is kind of one of those areas which allows most frequencies to move. Of course, a vacuum in space allows any frequency pretty much to move. But where we are in this world, walls have certain tendencies to nullify signal. Depends on the frequency. Like I was mentioning earlier, EMF, the electromagnetic frequency or electromagnetic force, the higher the frequency, up into, say, millimeter waves, in the gigahertz, that tends to go through most anything, right? Microwave energy, it transfers. The sun's radiation goes through everything that is not opaque. It get through things that are, the sun shines equally on all things, yeah? But certain frequencies do not go through certain mediums. Others do. The Mag Healy uses frequency systems designed for the human body and certain conditions in which that program was built. The water page is designed to send frequencies into water. Okay.
Can you speak a little bit more about that? Because I know we have many people who are interested in restructuring, and Healy like to call it informing. Would you say that there's a difference in that? Is that a deliberate difference? Because there's a lot of restructuring devices out there for water.
Yeah, there is a difference, and it is deliberate because remember what I said with what's available in the quantum field is just information. And I want to offer you this understanding within the quantum field. that there is a perfect blueprint of you. Every single one of us, there's a perfect blueprint sitting there. And it requires, remember I said earlier, it requires an observer to observe energy into form. So this perfect blueprint of us within the quantum field, there's no disease, disorder, dysfunction, or issue. It's just an objective possibility. Our mind is attached to a consciousness, and without consciousness, there is no form. So we are simply observing this information field into form through this consciousness, through this mind, aka the end result is a body. Okay, so information is infused into things. Well, it's different when you were to take water, run it through a vortex, expose it to some other types of energy and create structured water versus putting information via frequency into water. Because then once there's the information in the water itself and you consume it, that information then propagates through every cell of your body. The water in our body is the way that all of our cells communicate. It's information, and it's done through light frequencies. That's why, you've heard the statement, we're light beings. Well, truly at the fundamental core, we are. That's the way that every cell is in communications with each other. So when you drink the water, it's not, we don't want to say, quote, structured water. It is energy, information infused water, frequency infused water. And then your body absorbs it and it gets the information. What is the information? It is, again, I keep referring to the word information. It's frequency. And just as my voice has a specific frequency and the vibration goes into the electronics of our transmission community, and then it comes out on your speakers, it's turning my vibrational voice into electron flow and then putting it out into speakers so that then now it's back to sound vibration that your ears can interface with. Doing the same thing, Healy's taking the magnetic energy and transducing it into information into the water. And then when you consume it, your body decodes that content and then builds form, builds cell biology out of it. So that's brilliant, right?
Yeah, it's truly incredible. And you were speaking a little bit earlier about the testing that they've done and that they have to have parameters. Would you say that I know for the informing water, it's like effective for up to 12 hours, just in your own opinion and from what you understand about that, would you say like you could have it like overnight sitting there and drink it the next morning?
In the world of the quantum physics, information stays in flow until other information shifts it. So whether it be chaos or order, my quote is, chaos is simply order waiting for the proper consciousness to observe it. So the moment information is placed into water, it stays there infinitely until other information shifts it or changes it. And if your consciousness says that water is of the best essence for whatever program I put into it, when you ingest it, we can't discount the power of our mind. And you mentioned, I do a lot of work with Dr. Joe, and that community does things by thought alone. Very biological things by thought alone. Huge shifts in health by thought alone. But not everybody's going to do that work. Not everybody's willing to be that diligent. And so then we look at the body. I level the playing field, ladies and gentlemen, with one thing, and that's the body, because all of you have one. And as long as we're interfacing with life, it is the body that shows the evidence. And if that body is in disorder or disease of some form, then we're not doing the work. We have to take responsibility for that. And Healy gives us an opportunity to infuse very similar content into the body that the mind does. Don't be misunderstanding here that the mind cannot dissuade the effects of Healy, because it can. Our mind is way more powerful. Our free will is more powerful than the infinite field. So we need to make sure that we're on board with our healing and we're using this modality in a proper way. So frequencies, like you were asking about parameters, how long will it last within water? Infinitely, if it's not being infused by something else. How far will that magnetic signal go? 10 feet? Infinitely, to some degree. It's just amplitude starts to diminish the further away it gets. A butterfly flapping its wings in one region of the planet influences airflow and weather patterns in another region of the planet. No different than a thought carries entanglement throughout the universe.
Wow, that's so potent. Like that really landed in my being. Just the recognition of our own power is truly tremendous. And I think this is a perfect way to, because we're at the top of the hour, to complete frequency school for this week. But I'm just so grateful. We are also grateful to have you here and share your knowledge so generously. We really, really appreciate you. And I'd love for you to share. Yeah, feeling you. I'd love for you to share how people can connect with you that are not already connected. Like, where can they find you on Facebook and all your socials? And
yeah, absolutely. So you can, I mean, on Facebook, I am Kenneth Close, KENNETHCLOSE, Kenneth Close. On Instagram, also Kenneth.close is my Instagram page. And those are the ways I interface with a lot of you, of the world. And as far as, I mean, I'm honored to be here, by the way. Thank you for inviting me and allowing this time to just flow, right? Just flow. And there's so much to cover. I know an hour is seems like a long time, but it really collapses into the present moment when we start to get into the truth, right? And understanding our power. And this is why one of my missions, my passions, is to give people their power back, show humans how to shift and change. Using tools and understandings they already have. Healy is the beautiful tool that takes all of that concept and principle and wraps it up into a wearable no-brainer. I guess you might say.
yeah, there's so much more to cover, and we would love to have you back. And I think what would be a great idea is if we put a poll out and just learned what people would really love to do their next deep dive with, and then we could invite you back if it works with your schedule.
Yeah, take some questions, maybe take the content, do a survey. What would people want to know the most about? And because what I teach is the most about the body. It levels the playing field, and I can help you understand and demonstrate how we shift these bodies that we have, this honor that we have of having this life. And if I may, if it's okay, I'd like to read another quote from Nikola Tesla in regards to that body. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, we'd love that.
Okay. You may have heard me say this before, but what I want to say is that everyone should consider their body as a priceless gift from one whom they love above all, a marvelous work of art, an incredible beauty and mystery beyond human conception, and so delicate that a word, a breath, a look, nay, a thought may injure it. Feel that. Feel that.
Yeah.
Thank you all. I love you so much.
So, people don't jump off yet. I just want to make a short announcement. So we actually are planning on doing these once a month, but next we're going to have another incredible human being come and join us in 2 weeks' time That will be March 22nd. I think it's going to be at the same time, 1 p.m. Pacific. And his name is Jai, and he's a really good friend of Sarah Bliss. So she's going to be holding the space and interviewing him, and really taking a deep dive into his world, his unique lens on the quantum field. I know that his work is also in quantum osteopathy and the physics of consciousness. And I know his work focuses on plasma, which shows us the essence of life force. So it's going to be something a little bit different, or at least it's appearing like that for now, but it should be completely fascinating. So that's in 2 weeks' time, March 22nd, with Sarah Bliss and her friend Jai, and his organization is also called the School of Frequency. So there's a beautiful alignment there. And with that, it's the end of school. You can put your notebooks away. And yeah, there was a lot of information that was coming through today. So yeah, give yourself some space and time to integrate everything. Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
It's very educational.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Love you all.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Sending my love.
Thank you.
Au revoir.
Thank you so much.
Bonne nuit.
Merci.
Merci.
Ciao.
Love you guys and girls, goddesses. I'm going to stop recording here. Hold on. Oh, not that. Not that. Stop recording.